The air was thick with silence, suffocating in its indifference. I had just subdued a psychopath, tied him up, reported him to the police, and yet, nothing, no urgency, no alarm. The officer barely spared me a glance. "You're overthinking it," he muttered, his voice hollow with routine. I had seen this before. In the past 2 months, I had apprehended 47 criminals, given 112 statements. To them, I was just another madman chasing shadows. But this wasn't like the others. This time, I had been attacked by something different, something beyond human. When I told them, the officer let out a dry chuckle. "An evolved being who eats human flesh? Just a rumor. You've just got bad luck." Bad luck. If only he knew. If only I could tell him that luck had never abandoned me, that it had been piling up, waiting, twisting fate in ways I barely understood, that I, too, was something beyond human, a being whose hunger stirred at the sight of a cute dog. As Fan Shao stepped into the store, the familiar chime of the entrance bell rang out. The moment he walked in, a wave of applause erupted from the customers and staff. "Congratulations again," someone called out. 10 million this time. "You're unbelievably lucky." The shopkeeper, however, narrowed his eyes as he looked at Fan Shao, who was once again wearing an unusual mask. Crossing his arms, he asked, "Mr. Fan, this is the 4th time you've come to claim your prize. But every time, you're wearing a strange mask. What's the deal?" Fan Shao let out a small chuckle, shaking his head apologetically. "Sorry about that," he said. "This mask is my lucky charm. Without it, misfortune follows me everywhere." With his winnings secured, he stepped outside, taking a deep breath before finally removing the mask. He exhaled slowly, then muttered to himself, "My name is Fan Shao, and I have the ability to stockpile my luck." He glanced down at the lottery ticket in his hand, the reality of his win sinking in. "By storing my luck over time, I can unleash it all at once when I need it most, like winning the lottery, just as I have for the 4th time now. But during the time I stockpile it, misfortune comes at me relentlessly." His expression darkened slightly as he recalled the past month. "For an entire month, I let my luck build up, and in return, my life became a nightmare. I was nearly kidnapped 3 times. Every time I stepped outside, I barely dodged accidents by the thinnest margins. It was pure chaos." He clenched his fists, then smiled, the gleam of ambition in his eyes. "But in the end, I got 10 million out of it. Now, let's raise the stakes. I'll stockpile my luck for 2 whole months this time. Let's see what kind of reward that brings me." 2 months later, while Fan Shao was out jogging, he was suddenly attacked by a stranger. The man's movements were unnaturally fast, his strength far beyond that of an ordinary human. Within moments, Fan Shao realized the truth: the attacker was an evolved being. Fortunately, he had been prepared for situations like this. Without hesitation, he pulled out a pepper spray and sprayed it directly into the attacker's eyes. The man let out a pained scream, stumbling back as he clutched his face. Wasting no time, Fan Shao grabbed a rope he carried for emergencies, swiftly restraining the assailant before calling the police. At the station, an officer leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples as he glanced at the report in front of him. He let out a tired sigh before looking at Fan Shao. "This is becoming a routine, isn't it? Do you know how many times you've come to the station this month?" he asked. Fan Shao, sitting across from him, replied without hesitation, "I've apprehended 47 criminals and given 112 statements." The officer whistled in disbelief, shaking his head. "You must have the worst luck imaginable to get caught up in this many incidents. I mean, you have quite a talent for catching criminals. If you ever consider becoming a cop, you'd make a damn good one." He then flipped through the latest report and asked, "So, where exactly did you catch this guy today?" Fan Shao hesitated for a moment, recalling a recent news report about attacks linked to so-called evolved beings. He then answered, "The man who attacked me was incredibly strong, far beyond normal. He felt almost like an evolved person." The officer let out a deep sigh and leaned forward, his tone carrying an air of exhaustion. "Listen, there's no such thing as evolved beings. That's just sensationalist nonsense made up by news channels to get more views. A young and intelligent man like you shouldn't believe in such things." Hearing this, Fan Shao remained silent, but inwardly, he thought to himself, "If I weren't one of the evolved beings myself, I wouldn't believe in them either." As Fan Shao jogged through the dimly lit streets, his mind drifted back to the past 3 months. "I stored my luck for this long, and what did I get? A near-death encounter with an evolved being." His grip tightened into fists. "If I weren't as experienced as I am, today would have been the last day of my life." It had been just over a month since people began mutating. Some gained terrifying abilities, unnatural strength, heightened senses, and most disturbingly, an insatiable hunger for living creatures. At first, the news channels dismissed it as fiction, a mere internet hoax, but soon, reports of attacks started flooding in, stories of humans turning into something else, something predatory. Evolved beings, to put it bluntly, they had become the greatest threat to humanity. Lost in thought, Fan Shao barely noticed the stray dog trotting along the sidewalk, but the moment his eyes landed on it, something inside him shifted. His breath hitched, a strange sensation, primal and violent, stirred deep within his chest. The world around him blurred, and for a moment, his thoughts were no longer his own. Instead, a horrifying craving took over, an insatiable hunger that whispered one chilling question. What does raw dog meat taste like? His pupils dilated, his fingers twitched. He could already imagine it, sinking his teeth into flesh, the warmth of blood spilling onto his tongue. The thought alone sent a shiver down his spine, and for a terrifying moment, he wanted it. No, Fan Xiao clenched his jaw, forcing himself to look away. This isn't me. I won't become one of them. With great effort, he took a deep breath and quickened his pace, leaving the dog behind. I refuse to be a dog eater, he repeated in his mind like a mantra, suppressing the monstrous hunger clawing at his sanity. Back home, he immediately powered on his computer. If evolved beings truly existed, there had to be more information about them somewhere. Yet, no matter how many sites he searched, every single article, video, and discussion about the phenomenon had vanished. It was as if the entire topic had been erased from existence. Fan Xiao frowned. This doesn't make sense, he muttered. Just a few weeks ago, the internet was flooded with speculation and reports on evolved beings. Now, nothing. Who has the power to wipe out information on a global scale? He leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. As much as he hated to admit it, things were getting out of control. The urges were growing stronger by the day. He could still feel the remnants of that terrible hunger from earlier, gnawing at the edges of his mind. What if one day, I start craving humans? The thought made his stomach turn. But no, he wouldn't let it come to that. Shaking off his fears, Fan Xiao clenched his fists. I won't think like a loser. I'll fight these urges. I will never become a monster. His eyes flicked toward the calendar. 2 months. I've stored my luck for 2 full months. This is the perfect time to use it. Taking a deep breath, he activated the power within him. The moment he did, reality itself seemed to ripple. A golden glow filled the room, and before his eyes, a translucent golden window materialized in midair. Fan Zhao's eyes widened. He took a cautious step back, staring at the floating screen. What the hell is this? A mechanical voice echoed from the window. Congratulations, you have officially become a player in the evolution game. Your scanning is complete. Based on your abilities, we have identified several suitable professions for you. His pulse quickened. Evolution game? He carefully read the options that appeared before him. Jinx, a profession that manipulates both luck and curses. Dark Knight, a warrior of darkness. Assassin, a master of stealth and silent kills. Fan Xiao furrowed his brows. Jinx, mixing luck and curses. That sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. His eyes moved to the second option. Dark Knight. He cringed. That sounds so edgy. The last option caught his attention. Assassin. Now this is a good one. Without hesitation, he selected it. The golden window flickered before displaying another message. Talents are ranked from E to A. Your strongest trait is luck, which heavily influences your talent ranking. Fan Zhao's lips curled into a smirk. If my talent is based on luck, then this is the perfect time to use all my stored luck. Clasping his hands together, he whispered a prayer. Come on, at least give me a rank A talent. As he waited, the golden window began to glow even brighter. His fate was about to be revealed. As the golden window glowed brightly, Fan Xiao held his breath. The next moment, a notification appeared before him. Congratulations, you have unlocked an A-rank talent, Killing Angel. His eyes narrowed in curiosity as he read the description. Killing Angel, a summoning-type ability. The Killing Angel wields the host's sins as weapons, dragging enemies into oblivion. A smirk formed on Fan Zhao's lips. Now this is interesting. The ability wasn't just powerful, it was unique. Unlike conventional offensive abilities, this one summoned an entity that would fight on his behalf, using his very sins as weapons. In other words, it was like having a teleporting bodyguard at his disposal. Just as he was admiring his newfound talent, the golden window flickered again, and a new message popped up. Be ready, you will now be sent to a screening dungeon. The dungeon will begin in 10 seconds. Fan Zhao's smirk instantly disappeared. His body tensed as his mind raced. Screening dungeon? Where the hell is this system sending me now? Before he could process what was happening, a bright light engulfed him. His surroundings blurred, and the next moment, everything went dark. When Fan Xiao finally opened his eyes, he found himself lying on cold, cracked pavement. A heavy, eerie silence hung in the air. Slowly, he sat up, taking in his surroundings. The buildings around him were crumbling ruins, covered in moss and decay. Rusted vehicles lined the deserted streets, their windows shattered, their interiors long abandoned. The air carried the faint, metallic scent of blood, mixed with the damp staleness of a city long forgotten. A soft chime echoed in his ears as the golden window appeared once again. Welcome to the city of Weibei, once a lively and crowded metropolis, now reduced to a wasteland after a devastating monster attack. This place is now abandoned, with only one rule remaining: survive. The creatures here lurk in the shadows, waiting for their next prey. Fan Zhao's expression darkened. So that's how it is. This place isn't just a test, it's a death trap. The system wasn't done yet. Another notification appeared, this time listing 3 survival rules. First, at night, take refuge in a safe house. Second, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., the monsters remain in slumber. Third, the dungeon boss forbids all escape. Finally, his task was displayed. Objective: locate the space station and register as a player. Fan Shao exhaled slowly, steadying himself. So, before I can even think about leaving this place, I have to complete this so-called registration. His eyes scanned the ruined city around him, every shadow now holding a potential threat. Fine, if this is the game I've been dragged into, then I'll play it my way. Adjusting his posture, he cracked his neck and started moving forward, ready to face whatever awaited him in the forsaken city of Weibei. As he took a deep breath and tried to get his bearings, a troubling realization struck him. His self-defense kit was missing. He instinctively patted his pockets and checked his belt, but it was nowhere to be found. A cold dread crept up his spine. Does this mean the game doesn't allow real-world items? He thought. The idea unsettled him. He had always carried that kit as a precaution, something familiar to rely on in dangerous situations. Now, he was completely at the mercy of whatever tools the game provided. Pushing aside his unease, he finally took a proper look at his surroundings. He was not alone. Several other players stood nearby, their appearances just as disoriented as his. Above each of their heads, glowing text displayed their in-game character names, a clear indication that this world followed gaming mechanics. A sharply dressed man, exuding an air of authority, scanned the group before turning to a younger guy who looked like a college student. It seems like the game has assigned tasks to all of us, he observed. His voice was calm but firm, the kind that demanded attention. The college student nodded, checking the floating interface in front of him. Yeah, my task is to find the space station and register myself, he confirmed. While some players were beginning to process their objectives, one woman remained frozen in place. She had delicate features and an almost fragile demeanor, but at this moment, her expression was one of sheer disbelief. She kept shaking her head, mumbling under her breath, "This isn't real, this can't be real." Noticing her distress, a middle-aged man approached her, a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. There was something unsettling about the way he looked at her. Leaning in slightly, he said in a greasy tone, "If you need any kind of help, just come to me." The delicate woman recoiled, her face twisting with disgust. "Stay away from me," she snapped, taking a step back. However, in her panic, she stumbled and fell to the ground. The middle-aged man's smirk widened as he took a slow step forward. His eyes gleamed with something sinister, and for a moment, it seemed like he was enjoying the position she was in. Before he could get any closer, a figure in a hoodie suddenly grabbed his shoulder and yanked him back with surprising force. "Focus on the mission," the hoodie guy said, his voice low but firm. His grip tightened, his eyes cold and unwavering. "If you keep acting like this, you'll definitely end up as food for the monsters." The words hung in the air like a warning. The middle-aged man scoffed but took a step back, clicking his tongue in annoyance. Just then, a voice from the side broke the tense atmosphere. A girl, who had been quietly observing the situation, pointed at her game panel. "Look at the time," she said. "It's already 7:38 a.m. We can leave the safe house now." The hoodie guy checked his own interface before shaking his head. "The monsters started sleeping at 7:30. If we leave now, there's still a chance some of them are lurking around. We should wait until 8 o'clock to be sure." The delicate woman, still shaken from her earlier encounter, hesitated before suggesting, "Why not wait until 9? That way, we can be even safer." Before anyone could respond, a sharp voice cut through the discussion. "Wasting time isn't a good idea," Fan Shao said as he stepped forward, his expression serious. "I know we don't have a time limit, but think about it. This city is nothing but an abandoned ruin. Finding food is going to be a nightmare. Without supplies, our stamina will drain, and that's a death sentence in a survival game like this." He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "On top of that, searching an entire city for a space station will take ages. This game isn't just about surviving against monsters, it's about time working against us." The delicate woman's face shifted from fear to realization. "I didn't think of it that way," she admitted. "Now that you mention it, the mission does sound way harder than I first assumed." The executive man, who had been listening carefully, crossed his arms and nodded. "It seems like we all got so caught up in the situation that we completely forgot about food and supplies," he said. "If that's the case, then we have no choice. We need to move faster." A heavy silence fell over the group as the weight of the challenge ahead of them settled in. The city outside was waiting, its dangers unknown, its resources uncertain. Every decision from this point on could mean life or death, and the clock was already ticking. As Fan Shao observed the eerie surroundings, his attention was drawn to a creepy-looking doll. A thought crossed his mind. This doll had to be a special item. After all, if it weren't, he wouldn't have been able to bring it into the dungeon. Meanwhile, among the 7 of them, he suspected that some were evolved beings who had consumed human flesh. His gaze shifted toward 2 individuals in particular, the executive-looking man and the guy in the hoodie. Something about them felt off. As the group began exploring the city, they were met with a grim sight. Countless human skeletons littered the roads, a chilling testament to whatever catastrophe had unfolded here. After walking for a while, the executive man broke the silence, remarking that the city was massive, and searching every corner of it would be impossible. At that moment, the boy in the group spoke up. He suggested that since the city resembled those on Earth, there was a possibility that Weibei City's space station might share the same location as the one on Earth. However, the executive man immediately dismissed the idea, calling it nonsense. He pointed out that none of them were familiar with either space station's exact location. As he voiced his skepticism, his eyes landed on Fan Xiao. Something about Fan made him seem sharp. Perhaps he would have a better solution. Without hesitation, the executive man approached him and asked, "What's your name, bro?" Fan Xiao replied casually, "My name is Fan Jinxiang." Nodding, the executive man got straight to the point. "What do you think we should do next?" Fan thought for a moment before suggesting that they needed a map. He proposed heading to subway entrances, where they could find local maps to help them navigate. The hoodie guy immediately interjected, arguing that subway maps wouldn't be of much use since they only covered a limited area. Fan countered that they didn't need maps of the entire city, just the key routes. The executive man considered this and eventually agreed with Fan's reasoning. Meanwhile, a pervy man in the group was busy trying to chat up the girls, completely uninterested in the discussion. About 30 minutes later, the group arrived at a subway entrance. However, the moment they looked inside, a sense of dread washed over them. The passage was pitch black. No one dared to step forward. Then, in the silence, Fan Xiao quietly struck a match, the small flame flickering to life. The executive man's eyes widened in shock. "Where did you get that?" he asked, his tone filled with disbelief. Fan smirked slightly and replied, "Let's just say I'm a lucky guy. I picked it up along the way." As Fan Xiao took a step toward the subway entrance, the executive man suddenly raised a hand, stopping him in his tracks. His expression sharpened, and his posture tensed as if he were listening intently. "Wait," he murmured, his voice low but firm. His eyes flickered toward the darkness ahead. "I can hear something." The group fell silent, straining to listen, but the tunnel remained eerily quiet, at least to their ears. "What do you hear?" Fan Xiao asked, narrowing his eyes. The executive man's gaze didn't waver from the pitch-black entrance. "Breathing," he said after a brief pause. "For distinct patterns, slow, heavy, controlled. They're not human." His tone was calm, but there was an undercurrent of unease. "It seems like there are 4 monsters below." A shiver ran through the group. The college student's eyes widened in awe before breaking into a grin. "Big bro, that's so cool. You must have some kind of enhanced hearing talent." At those words, the executive man's expression flickered with something close to confusion. He turned toward the younger man, his brow furrowed. "Talent?" he asked. There was something unsettling in his tone, like the word was completely foreign to him. The college student hesitated, then explained, "Yeah, every player who unlocks the game also unlocks a talent. Didn't you know?" The executive man was silent for a moment, as if processing the information, then his eyes swept across the group, his voice quieter now. "So that means, all of you have talents?" Fan Xiao, who had been observing the man closely, suddenly spoke. "Have you ever hunted anything?" The question made the executive man pause. His jaw tightened, and for the first time, there was a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Then, with a slow exhale, he finally answered. "You know how evolved beings crave flesh," he admitted, his voice carrying a weight that made the air feel heavier. "At first, I tried to resist it. I told myself I wouldn't give in, no matter how bad it got. I held out for as long as I could." His fingers twitched slightly as he spoke. "But after 2 weeks, the craving became unbearable. It was like something inside me was gnawing away at my sanity." His gaze darkened. "I had no other choice," he muttered. "So I ate my dog, raw." A tense silence followed. The group exchanged glances, some horrified, others unreadable. Even the pervy man, who had been distracted earlier, stopped his antics to listen. The executive man continued, his tone almost clinical now. "After that, my senses changed. My hearing became sharper. My sense of smell heightened. My body adapted, almost like my dog's abilities transferred to me. And now," he let out a humorless chuckle, tilting his head slightly. "Well, you can see it for yourself." He pointed to his ears, the slight curve, the altered shape. They resembled something inhuman. The college student, instead of recoiling, looked at him with admiration. "That's insane," he said. "You held out for 2 whole weeks. Controlling the craving is hard. I barely lasted 4 days before giving in. But after becoming a player, the urge to eat flesh started to fade a little." His voice carried a note of hope. "Maybe once we become official players, the craving will disappear completely." Fan Xiao discussing with one of them curiously asking about the taste of dogs. A man wearing a cap responded, Questioning why Brother Fan was asking such a thing, Brother Fan casually explained that he was merely curious but then changed the subject to something more unsettling. He asked if the man had ever thought about eating humans before. The question sent a visible shiver through the man in the cap, shaking him to his core. Nervously, the man in the cap repeated the question, almost in disbelief. He insisted that such a thought had never crossed his mind, questioning how anyone could even consider something so repulsive. He turned to the others, seeking validation for his reaction. Had someone asked him such a question, he argued, they too would have reacted similarly. Observing his reaction, someone commented that he appeared to be telling the truth. However, another speculated that he might simply be a good actor, pretending to be ignorant of such thoughts. Brother Fan, sensing the tension, quickly brushed off the conversation as a joke. Another participant remarked that Brother Fan's humor was quite dark, admitting that his words had genuinely frightened them. It was the first time they had ever heard such a thing being discussed so openly. When they searched for information, they found that it was indeed a logical concept, yet Brother Fan's intense way of expressing it had made everyone uneasy. Before the conversation could spiral further, another member of the group Hoodie Guy scolded everyone for wasting time. He reminded them that they were on a mission and had limited time if they failed to find station soon, so they have to bear consequences. He warned that once the monsters awoke, they would devour them all. A green-haired girl immediately supported this, urging everyone to move quickly. She pointed out that the system had clearly instructed them to return to the safe house on time, otherwise, they would be left outside, where the monsters would undoubtedly kill them. Despite her warning, Fan Xiao dismissed her concern, stating that it was not yet time to return to the safe house. They needed to keep moving in order to gather more information about Tuchan. The group realized they had been walking around the city's surface for quite some time without encountering any monsters. One of them hypothesized that monsters avoided the light and instead lurked in dark places like subway entrances. Agreeing with this, the man in the cap insisted that standing idle would not help them. Moving forward was their only option. It was better than dying of hunger without trying. At this point, green-haired girl broke down in tears, refusing to proceed. She admitted that she was too terrified to go any further. The uncle scoffed at the others, accusing them of having gone mad. He claimed that, in times of crisis, they would surely sacrifice him and the girl to the monsters to save themselves. Knowing that danger awaited inside, he firmly refused to enter. The Hoodie Guy urged everyone to lower their voices, warning that if they continued to argue, they would attract the monsters and all be killed. He then suggested that rather than entering blindly, they should try to explore other areas first. The college student agreed, reasoning that while there might be monsters in this particular subway, other places could be safer. Entering directly into danger seemed reckless. Despite their fears, Fan Xiao remained resolute. He told the group that they were free to make their own choices, but he needed a map and would enter regardless. He reminded them that he was not their leader, and they were not obliged to follow him. They were all players in the game, each with their own tasks. If they wanted to mind their own business, they should do so. Fan Xiao, watching the scene unfold, reassured himself that he had a powerful hidden bodyguard. If he faced any danger, he would use his A-level talent. Determined, he stepped inside the subway and was immediately met with the sight of countless skeletons. The man in the cap quickly followed, calling out for Brother Fan to wait. He insisted that they had come to support him. Both high school girls also expressed their concerns, stating that they needed to verify the map themselves rather than blindly trusting a stranger. Fan Xiao smirked at their words, admitting that he found them likable. He acknowledged that they were all inside the evolution game, and forming alliances was beneficial. However, he made it clear that his memory was sharp. He assured them that he would remember it completely and added that there was no need to ruin it by tearing it apart. The man wearing a cap nodded and said, "Okay, brother, we will do as you say." The high school girl, her voice trembling with anxiety, pointed ahead and warned, "Look, there's a monster sleeping there." Seeing the massive creature lying in their path, the entire group tensed up, their nerves rattled, but Fan Zhao's gaze quickly shifted to the map in his hands. With a reassuring tone, he said, "Don't worry, we don't need to go any further, our destination is ahead of us." He studied the map of Weeby City carefully. The cap guy scoffed, "You barely looked at that map for a minute, and now you're telling us you've memorized the whole thing?" Fan Xiao smirked. "I told you, my memory is sharp. You could say I have a photographic memory. I remember everything I see." The high school girl, skeptical, thought to herself, "I might not remember the entire map, but I do recall some parts of it, and based on what I remember, this guy is drawing it out perfectly. Can we really trust him?" Just then, green-haired girl pointed towards a group emerging from a distance. "Look, they're all coming out safely." A college student sighed in relief. "I'm so glad to see you all okay. Please, forgive me." The high school girl turned to him, her expression stern. "We're a team. We work together. Running away at the first sign of danger is not how a team operates. If you can't stick with us in times of trouble, then you shouldn't be part of this team." Pervy uncle frowned, What did we do wrong? Going in was dangerous. Why would I put myself in unnecessary risk? She crossed her arms. So those of us who went in, our risk was unnecessary. Our lives had no value. Fine, then don't take the map. We risked our lives for it, so it belongs to us. Pervy uncle, standing nearby, scoffed. Say whatever you want. These three are with me. Before tensions could escalate further, Hoodie Guy stepped forward and said, Brother Fan, I admit I was wrong. I sincerely apologize, and I promise to cooperate from now on. I feel ashamed that you all risked your lives while I stood back. The green-haired girl nodded. Yes, I ask for forgiveness too. We failed as teammates. Next time, we'll be at the front. Just this once. Please forgive us. The college student sighed. I feel ashamed as well. For the first time in my life, I turned my back on someone, and I don't know how to make it right. I can only promise that it won't happen again. Can we still work as a team? Meanwhile, Uncle was deep in thought. These people are two-faced. Just moments ago, they were on my side. But now that the others succeeded, they've turned against me. He clenched his fists, hiding his true feelings behind a neutral expression. The high school girl turned to Pervy Uncle. So, do you still want to say something? You still have time to decide whose side you're on. Pervy Uncle hesitated before finally sighing. Forgive me. I know I was wrong. Instead of admitting it, I lashed out at you. But inwardly, he seethed. If not today, then tomorrow. I'll get rid of all of you. Whatever profit we gain from this battle, it will be mine alone. None of you will leave here alive. Brother Fan spoke up, cutting through the tension. Instead of fighting over these useless things, why don't we focus on survival? We're all thinking about ourselves. But does anyone here know if we'll even make it out alive? He pulled out a rough sketch. I've drawn separate maps for everyone. Take a copy, and we'll split up. College student shook his head. Split up? No way. Haven't you ever seen a horror movie? The moment people split up, they start dying. Brother Fan remained calm. There are 3 stations in Weeby City. If we travel one by one, we'll waste too much time. If we form 3 groups and tackle them separately, we'll be more efficient. College student sighed. Alright, you're good at planning. You decide the teams. The high school girl stepped forward. My sister and I will go east. You all can decide the rest. Pervy Uncle smirked. These 2 girls are innocent and naive. I should go with them to protect them. The high school girl shot him a glare. We don't need your protection. We're not your responsibility. Pervy Uncle shrugged. I'll go wherever I want. You can't give me orders. She groaned. Go somewhere else. It's like nothing gets through your thick skull. Pervy Uncle smirked. I've heard enough from you. Before he could say more, the man in the cap interrupted. Why are you making trouble? Pervy Uncle raised his hands innocently. Trouble. I simply stated that I want to go east. Is that a problem? Brother Fan stepped forward. If you want to go east, come with us. Pervy Uncle narrowed his eyes. This guy has seemed dangerous from the start, and now he insists on coming with me. What is he planning? Brother Fan folded his arms. We don't need a map. I remember it perfectly. I made 2 copies. Share them among yourselves. The man wearing the cap said. Yes, Brother Fan, take care of yourself. At the same time, he was thinking that if Brother Fan remained in the team, the troublesome fat man wouldn't cause any problems. Then, the man in the cap stated that Brother Fan had headed east with his team. He observed that among those who remained, he and the hoodie guy were the most mature. He then suggested that the 2 of them should lead a team together. The man in the hoodie agreed, saying he had no objections. He then announced that he would be heading north and asked if anyone would like to join him. The girl who had fallen earlier responded eagerly, saying she would be happy to accompany him. As they prepared to leave, college student expressed his excitement, remarking that it was incredible that he and the man in the cap would now be working together. He reassured his new teammate that there was no need for concern, as he had a knack for finding things and would do his best to help them escape. The man in the cap, however, had his doubts. He hoped the child would indeed be of help, otherwise, things could get troublesome. Meanwhile, in another part of the area, Fan Xiao and his team were making their way east. The pervy uncle, lost in thought, was irritated by the presence of a certain young man. If it weren't for him, he mused, the 2 girls would have already been at his mercy. Observing the boy's slender build, he wondered what harm the boy could possibly do to him. The girls had interfered with his plans before, and now it was time for them to pay the price. Just then, he felt a hand land heavily on his shoulder. Startled, he turned to see a fan shao being thrown at him. He asked him what he was planning and whether he really believed his intentions had gone unnoticed. A chill ran down his spine as he realized that someone had caught onto him. Fan Zhao's expression darkened as he spoke. He noted that there was an incredible scent coming from the 2 sisters, one so intense that it seemed to quell their hunger. He turned to the pervy man and asked if he felt the same, if his hunger was also increasing. The fat uncle hesitated before demanding to know what Fan Zhao was implying. In response, Fan Zhao scoffed, telling him to drop the act. From the beginning, everyone had been aware of his intentions toward the girls. While others dismissed him as a fool, Fan Zhao alone understood the truth, that his hunger was insatiable, and seeing the girls only intensified it. He continued, explaining that the craving never truly faded. The pervy uncle sneered, admitting that he had suspected as much. He remarked that Fan Zhao's words were not mere speculation but a reflection of reality. With a knowing smile, he stated that, like him, Fan Zhao must have eaten humans before. Fan Yao smirked. "So you've done it too," he remarked. He explained that they were alike in more ways than one. When surrounded by others, they had to conceal their true nature, but when left alone, there was no longer any need to pretend. At first, he had worried that if others discovered the truth, they might attack them, but now that there was no one else around, they could finally act without restraint. The pervy uncle grinned, revealing his agreement. He then pondered aloud how long they would continue to chase after others. He suggested that since they were both of the same kind, they should stop pretending. He confessed that he had fought against others simply to buy himself time to follow his prey, and seeing them walking ahead of him only made his hunger grow stronger. Frustrated, he questioned when they would finally act. Fan Zhao admitted that since becoming a player, his appetite had diminished significantly. However, he was perplexed as to why the same thing hadn't happened to the pervy uncle. In contrast, the pervy uncle revealed that his hunger had only intensified over time. He then explained that, unlike Fan Zhao, he had initially refrained from eating humans. Instead, he had consumed animals, gaining their abilities in the process. Through rigorous effort, he had mastered those abilities, eventually using them to kill humans. However, the moment he ate human flesh, his powers began to wane. He theorized that the system considered cannibals to be useless, stripping them of their acquired abilities. Fan Yao listened carefully, contemplating the implications. He concluded that the system had instilled this insatiable hunger in them as a test. Those who succumbed to their cravings and ate humans lost the ability to gain power. Physically, they remained stronger than ordinary humans, but they lost the potential to develop any further. Curious, pervy uncle inquired about how many animals the Fan Zhao had consumed and what abilities he had gained from them. The Fan Zhao responded with a hint of pride, revealing that before turning to human flesh, he had eaten 5 different animals. At this, the pervy uncle was taken aback. 5? That's excessive, he exclaimed. He had always believed that the limit was 3. Your self-control is impressive, he admitted. He then recalled his own experience. First, he had eaten a dog, then a cat, and finally a pig. After consuming these 3, his body mutated so rapidly that he lost control of his mind. In a frenzied state, he attacked and ate a person from his own community. It was only then that he regained his senses and understood what had happened. He turned back to Fan Zhao, astonished. "And you're telling me that even after consuming 5 animals, you remained in control, that nothing disastrous happened to you?" As the discussion continued, a high school girl, who had been silently observing, suddenly interrupted them. The high school girl said she had been listening to them for a long time and asked if they had really eaten humans. The white-haired girl turned to her sister and asked, with a worried expression, if they would be eaten too. Their captors exchanged glances, one of them commenting that the girls had caught on to their plans. Another one, addressing his brother, pointed out that there were 2 of them and 2 girls, suggesting they each take one for themselves to satisfy their hunger. Fan Zhao, eyeing the older sister, admitted he liked her the most and declared that she would be his dinner for the night. Pervy uncle shrugged indifferently, saying that it did not matter to him, anything would do. As he spoke, he began to transform, his body growing significantly larger. Pervy uncle revealed that he had been suppressing his hunger for too long. Now, he finally had the opportunity to unleash his power and eat to his heart's content. He urged the girls to cooperate, promising that if they did, they would not feel any pain and his task would be completed smoothly. The high school girl, undeterred, warned them that if they attacked, they would not escape unscathed. She stated that upon their return, everyone would question what had happened to the girls, and the truth would eventually come to light. If they killed them, the others would not let them go unpunished and would hunt them down. Pervy uncle hesitated, admitting nervously that she had a point. He turned to his companion, Fan Zhao, and asked what they should do. Fan Zhao dismissed his concerns, instructing him to focus on their task and not worry about the consequences. He reassured him that they could simply tell everyone that monsters had attacked, and they had barely escaped. While the girls were not as fortunate, he was confident that people would believe their fabricated story. He also reminded the girls that in such a chaotic world, where people in the safe house were complete strangers to one another, no one would be willing to risk their lives to avenge them. Pervy uncle smirked, praising Fan Zhao for his cunning. Despite being an evolving individual, he acknowledged that Fan Zhao was exceptionally intelligent. The black-haired high school girl, determined to resist, instructed her companion, Gizzy, to run and seek help while she held off their attackers. As she spoke, she sent forward her eerie-looking doll to fight. Pervy uncle scoffed at her defiance, mocking her for thinking she could stop them. He laughed at the idea that her doll could pose any real threat. However, as he launched an attack, the doll deftly dodged, revealing its surprising agility. The high school girl watched in shock, realizing that the attack had not been powerful enough to kill him, even if it had struck him directly. Just as she processed the danger, her doll leaped and clawed at Uncle's eye, inflicting a severe injury. The high school girl shouted at her sister, urging her to escape and inform the others about the truth of their attackers. Uncle, enraged by the injury, tore the doll apart and cursed at her, swearing to make her regret her defiance. He declared that if he did not make her suffer for what she had done, he would no longer be worthy of his name, Fatty Pig Uncle. As the girl watched her doll being destroyed, she felt a sinking realization. She had no means of escape left. Uncle advanced toward her, lifting her hood as he sneered that she had made a grave mistake by confronting him. He vowed that after killing her, they would feast on her sister as well. However, before he could carry out his threat, Fan Xiao appeared and stabbed Uncle. Staggering back in shock, Uncle gasped, questioning why he had been betrayed. He collapsed on the spot, succumbing to his wound. The white-haired girl rushed to her sister's side, anxiously asking if she was all right. At that moment, the system announced that the player king of the world had been eliminated. The system further reported that all artifacts belonging to the player king of the world were being given to Player Seal. As it scanned for any remaining items, it issued an apology, revealing that there was nothing of value left. The so-called player king of the world was a fraud. His pockets were completely empty. Despite repeated scans, no artifacts were found on him. The Fan Xiao murmuring that the man was a poor person who could offer no benefit, especially now that he had died. A high school girl then spoke up, stating that she had finally understood everything. She accused the Fan Xiao of deception, saying that he was neither truly allied with the deceased nor someone who consumed humans. She claimed he had only gained their trust to extract information, ultimately planning a sneak attack to save them. The Fan Xiao responded, acknowledging her intelligence and expressing relief that they didn't need to explain anything further. The high school girl then questioned how, as a human, he could have known that the man was not human. She pointed out that from the beginning, they had all assumed he was just a stranger, and not once did they feel threatened by him. Her sister agreed, stating that their system had provided no information about such beings. Fan Xiao interjected, agreeing with the assessment that the system had failed to identify these human eaters. He admitted that they had not realized when their own comrades had become threats. He then confessed that he had not been particularly suspicious of anyone but remained cautious of everyone, waiting until the end to determine who was truly human. Given their lack of a means to distinguish between human eaters and normal people, he noted that their group was now more dangerous to others than the monsters themselves. White-haired girl shuddered at the mere thought of consuming humans, expressing her disgust and disbelief at the idea of someone stooping so low just to survive. The high school girl, seemingly reassured, decided to formally introduce herself. She said, "Hello, Mr. Fan. My name is Lu Xining." Her younger sister followed suit, saying, "And I am Lu Baiji." Fan Xiao, upon hearing this, introduced himself as Fan Jiangchang. However, Xining, another member of the group, remarked that if he didn't wish to reveal his name, it was fine. She then speculated that Fan Xiao had deliberately divided the group to uncover the true nature of everyone present. Fan Xiao confirmed this, explaining that by separating individuals, their true identities became evident. He was certain that even in other groups, the same revelations would have emerged. The presence of human eaters among them posed a serious danger, and eventually, these individuals would have created insurmountable problems. Baiji turned to Fan Xiao and asked if this meant there were still many among them who secretly consumed humans. Fan Xiao solemnly confirmed their fears, saying they needed to return and investigate further. He added that he was particularly suspicious of the man in the hoodie guy and the green-haired girl. Xining questioned the basis of his suspicions. Fan Xiao replied that he had read their nicknames, which seemed peculiar. He suspected that one of them was a human eater and intentionally kept them together. Xining then asked, "Then who among them is the real culprit?" Before Fan Xiao could respond, the hoodie guy and the green-haired girl came running toward them, laughing in apparent relief. They pleaded with Fan Xiao for help. Observing them, Fan Xiao commented that they had returned just in time. However, the two immediately turned on each other, each accusing the other of being a human eater. Fan Xiao stepped in, pointing out that both were making accusations but lacked proof. He asked what evidence they had against each other. The hoodie guy quickly claimed that the girl was a monster, saying, "She tried to eat me. Look, I even have a scar on my hand." The green-haired girl retaliated, calling him a liar and insisting that he was the real monster. She revealed a wound on her hand, explaining that when he attacked her, she had been injured. According to her, the man had then injured himself to appear innocent. Xining admitted his confusion, wondering whether someone would go to such lengths just to deceive them. Baiji turned to Fan Xiao and asked, "Brother Fan, what are you going to do?" Fan Xiao analyzed the situation, noting that both had wounds and neither had definitive proof of their innocence. Xining, placing his trust in him, nodded in agreement. Baiji also acknowledged that they had no other way to determine the truth, so they had to rely on Fan's judgment. After a moment's consideration, Fan Xiao finally made his choice. Looking at the two individuals, he declared, "I choose you." The hoodie guy, seemingly worried, addressed Fan Xiao, praising his intelligence. "Brother Fan, you're smart. I know you must have realized that I'm human, so why are you lying? Is it just because she's beautiful? Don't be foolish. If you are, this girl will kill you all." Fan Xiao cut him off sharply. "Shut your mouth. I had doubts about you from the start. You're a strange person." He then turned toward the girl and, with a smirk, added, "This girl is innocent and cute. Do you really think she could kill someone?" The green-haired girl, appearing grateful, thanked Fan for trusting her. He responded, "I've placed my trust in you, but don't forget to repay me later." She smiled and assured him, "I won't forget. I'll give you the best reward of your life." Just then, in a sudden turn of events, Fan and Xining moved in unison, stabbing the green-haired girl. She screamed in shock and pain. "This was a trap, you bastards. How dare you attack me?" Her enraged cries echoed as she realized she had been deceived. Xining expressed his frustration, saying that at the very least, Fan Xiao should have informed him before launching the attack. In response, Fan smirked and replied that despite not informing Xining, he had still done exactly what was expected of him. He explained that his trust in Xining was proof of the latter's intelligence. Xining pondered over this, realizing that Fan Xiao not only possessed sharp intellect but also remarkable courage. The fact that Fan Xiao had attacked the monster without hesitation, fully trusting Xining to follow suit, was a testament to his confidence and predictive abilities. Xining wondered whether Fan Xiao had a psychic-type ability that enhanced his strategic thinking. Meanwhile, Xining's friends called out to the monster, urging it to reveal its true form. As they taunted it, green-haired girl began to transform. She sneered at them, warning that they had made a grave mistake by forcing her into her real form. If they had not done so, they might have had a slim chance to escape. Now, however, she declared that none of them would escape her grasp. Realizing the threat, Xining and the others quickly decided to flee. One of them remarked that the monster they had fought earlier was far weaker than this one. It was evident that this creature had devoured not only humans but also evolving beings, making it even more formidable. As the monster lunged toward them, it mocked their efforts, stating that their attempts to run were futile. It pointed out that the confined space of the city would not allow them to escape, and even if they moved quickly, they would still remain within its reach. Explosions erupted across the city as the monster attacked. Xining turned to Fan Xiao and asked if he had any ideas or if they were simply going to keep running. Fan Xiao took a moment to think before confidently declaring that he had a plan. He then pointed out that Xining had been shouting for quite some time, seemingly forgetting that loud noises were strictly prohibited in this area. Fan Xiao reminded her that shouting attracted other threats, making their situation even more dangerous. As the monster continued its rampage, Fan Xiao taunted it, telling it to shut its mouth. The monster, enraged, demanded silence from him instead. Fan Xiao, unfazed, retorted that the monster should be the one to remain silent, as its excessive talking would lead to its downfall. Just then, 3 additional monsters charged forward, attacking the female monster. She let out a scream as she struggled against them. She called out for help. Fan observed the situation and realized that using these monsters alone would not be enough to eliminate the threat. If he wanted to win, he would have to use his own power. Determined, he activated his special ability, Angel of Slaughter, summoning a formidable dark angel. The angel emerged with a sinister grin, addressing Fan Xiao as her master and asking what he needed from her. She glanced at the battlefield, excitedly noting the abundance of toys to play with. Fan encouraged her, telling her to go ahead and eliminate them all without hesitation. The angel, amused by Fan Xiao's enthusiasm, acknowledged that he had called her for an entertaining task. With incredible speed, she lunged forward, swiftly eliminating the first 3 monsters before slicing the female monster into pieces. The sheer brutality of her attack left everyone in shock. The spectators, their mouths agape, admitted that they had never witnessed such terrifying power before. 2 more monsters attempted to escape the angel's wrath and launched an attack on Fan Xiao. However, before they could get close, the angel intervened, questioning their audacity in trying to harm her master while she was still present. She remarked that their courage had grown too much before effortlessly obliterating them, shattering their heads with a single blow. Fan Xiao watched in amazement, impressed by the sheer efficiency of his summoned entity. He noted that his task had been completed much faster than anticipated. Just then, the system's voice announced that Player Seal had successfully eliminated Player Little Fairy and was now entitled to claim one of Player Little Fairy's items as a reward. However, after scanning, the system regretfully informed him that the defeated player had no valuable artifacts to offer. Fan Xiao sighed in disappointment, muttering that the entire situation was full of beggars who had nothing of value to provide. Meanwhile, the angel, still eager for more destruction, turned to Fan Xiao and pleaded for another opponent, expressing her desire to continue playing. As Fan Xiao considered her request, he suddenly felt mentally exhausted. Although his physical strength remained intact, he realized that using the angel's power drained his mental energy significantly. Frustrated, he decided it would be best to send her back before he collapsed from overexertion. Just as he was about to dismiss the angel, Xining approached him with wide eyes and demanded an explanation. He asked Fan Xiao whether he possessed psychic abilities, given the extraordinary feat he had just performed. Fan Xiao smirked and vaguely responded that one could consider his abilities as a form of mental power. He added that he had an incredible mind that allowed him to accomplish many things just by thinking. However, in his mind, Fan Xiao noted that the mental strength of those around him was exceptionally low. He realized that merely witnessing such carnage required an immense mental fortitude, something his companions clearly lacked. It was best, he thought, to keep his full abilities a secret. The less others knew about him, the better. At that moment, Fan Zhao's eyes fell on the hoodie guy standing nearby, and he noticed something unusual. The wound on his hand had completely healed. Fan Xiao questioned how the wound had healed so quickly and asked if anyone among them possessed healing powers. In response, Baiji confirmed that she had a C-rank talent called healing, which allowed her to effortlessly mend both internal and external injuries. He further explained that she could even neutralize poisons and viruses within seconds. Observing this, Fan Xiao turned to Xining and inquired about her talent. Based on his observations, he speculated that Xining was a puppet controller. Xining confirmed this, explaining that she possessed an E-rank talent known as manipulator, which enabled him to control puppets. However, he lamented that all of his puppets had been destroyed, making combat exceedingly difficult for him. Fan Xiao then asked if Xining could control anything other than puppets and whether she had brought any additional resources into the game. Xining explained that since she was a puppet master, she had only carried puppets with her. The game had recognized his affinity for puppets and classified it as her talent, allowing her to bring them into the game. Unfortunately, she had been unable to bring any other objects along. She then pondered aloud about their next move, noting that they had originally been searching for the station but had instead encountered a powerful monster and a series of unexpected problems. Fan Xiao responded decisively, stating that their primary objective was to regroup. He admitted that he had already devised a plan regarding their next destination. He assured the group that he knew which station was their true goal, where they would officially register as players. He suggested that they focus on reaching the station before nightfall. Now, he returned to the team's safe house. The man in the hat stared in disbelief and muttered, "I still can't believe it. Just a while ago, those people who acted all innocent were actually monsters. Having such players in our group was far too dangerous." Honestly, Fan Xiao, it was smart of you to use your head and take them out before they became a threat to the entire team. The college student nodded in agreement. Yeah, at least now all those monsters are gone. But for now, maybe we shouldn't dwell on that. Brother Fan Xiao, we conducted our own investigation, but it was pointless. According to the map, the entire station we were supposed to check has been destroyed. There's absolutely nothing left of it. Despite reaching that location, we couldn't find a single useful thing. If one station is in that bad condition, then chances are the rest are the same. So, tell us, Brother Fan, how are we supposed to get out of here? Fan Xiao paused for a moment before finally replying, "To tell you the truth, I do have a way out, and we won't need any station for it. In fact, the stations are meaningless now. I split all of you up on purpose, to test who among us was truly capable, because I already know a place where it will be much easier for us to get out." The guy in the hat narrowed his eyes. "Wait, you already knew the location? And we've been wandering around for nothing? I can tell you brought a lot of newspaper clippings and monster bodies here, so the answer we're looking for must be related to all this." Baiji chimed in. "Dragging these monsters here was a nightmare. They're massive, and insanely heavy. We almost collapsed getting them here." Fan Xiao smiled faintly. "You're right, these newspapers are the key. That's how I found the escape route." He explained that the first place he visited after discovering a way out was the local library, to learn about what this world used to be before the disaster struck. "I found all kinds of books there, but more importantly, I found newspapers that made everything crystal clear." The man in the hat widened his eyes in realization. "Now everything makes sense. So what are we waiting for, Fan Xiao? We've still got time. Let's move." But Fan Xiao raised a hand to stop them. "There's no need to rush. Trust me, in this world, those who rush only end up dead. I've learned both terrifying and fascinating things about this place. So, tell me, do you want the good news first or the bad news?" The man in the hat responded quickly. "Let's start with the bad news." Fan Xiao nodded. "All right. By now, you must have fought several of these monsters, seen them up close. What do you think? What could their origin be?" The college student answered confidently. "It's pretty obvious. A portal must have opened up in this world. These monsters probably came through it. That's how it usually goes in manhwa stories, right? Beings from another world invading ours. They're an extremely powerful species, physically much stronger than humans. In fact, I'd say each of them is about 20 times stronger than a normal person. But despite that, they're not invincible, they can be killed. Thankfully, they don't seem to have a brain. That's what makes them easy to kill. They're sensitive to sound, so their hearing system must work like a human's. They prefer darkness and don't seem to enjoy coming out in the light, like introverts who just want to be left alone. The man in the hoodie agreed. Yeah, I think he's right. These monsters are really dumb. That's why it's easy to trick and trap them. With proper preparation, we can take them down. Fan Xiao smiled at their reasoning. You guys have done some solid analysis. In just one day, you've managed to figure out a lot about them. Jining added thoughtfully. There's another thing worth noting. Not just their behavior, but even their bodies resemble humans, just a little larger in proportion. Fan Xiao looked impressed. You're all getting really close to the truth. Let me tell you who these creatures really are. Despite what you think, there was never any portal. These monsters aren't outsiders. They're not from another world. They used to be human. They were just like you and me. But after going through some kind of extreme evolution, they became monsters. The man in the hat stood frozen in shock. Are you saying these monsters were once human? That's really hard to believe. They were like us. Fan Xiao nodded solemnly. As hard as it is to accept, it's the truth. And now, I'm going to share some points that might help you all understand why I believe these monsters were once human. First, their bodies and behaviors match ours almost perfectly. Second, we've already encountered several evolved beings who had started developing monster-like powers, and their appearances had begun to shift as well. Just think about that little fairy we fought earlier. She looked almost exactly like the monsters we've seen. When I killed her, I discovered something shocking. These monsters have internal organs identical to ours. The same heart, same lungs, same structure. That kind of similarity isn't just a coincidence. The hooded man finally understood. So that's why you were slicing up monster bodies back there. You weren't killing for sport. You were checking if they were human inside. Honestly, I thought you were just a brutal fighter who enjoyed violence. I had no idea you were doing an autopsy. The college student nodded slowly. It's starting to make sense now. All the evolved beings we encountered showed an intense craving for raw meat. Even we felt that urge. Some of us even gave in and ate animals. We've been oversimplifying evolution. It's not just a scientific process. It's a biological apocalypse, like a zombie outbreak, except this one turns people into monsters. Fan Xiao shook his head. You've got it slightly wrong. The truth is humans are evolving once again. This isn't our first transformation. We've gone through many stages to reach where we are today, and now, the next stage of evolution is differentiated monsters. Those who can control the evolution will gain incredible power, but those who can't, they'll lose themselves completely. They'll become monsters. The man in the hat spoke again. So basically, you're saying, this world used to be like Earth, normal people, living normal lives, and everything was going well, but then evolution started, and the people here couldn't handle it. They started eating animals, and then each other, and eventually, they turned into monsters. Humanity was wiped out. Fan Xiao nodded. Exactly. I believe this is a parallel world, just like Earth, but evolution began here long before it did in our world. Just like how people on Earth refuse to believe in evolving, beneath the surface, something terrible is already happening. To be honest, the moment I arrived here, I started wondering how this world ended. That's why I went to the library, and what I found there confirmed everything. Fan Xiao pulled out a folded newspaper. This article was published just days before this world collapsed. You all should read it. It explains everything. The college student took the paper and began reading aloud. No one knows what's happening to people these days. Under the label of mukbang videos, people are doing insane things. Just recently, one mukbanger ate a raw dog on camera, and the entire internet is terrified. Is this just for fame, or something more disturbing? Cat and dog hunting has surged. Once, these animals played freely with humans. Now they flee in fear. People have abandoned normal food and started chasing after living things. Anything that moves is being hunted for food. No one expected humanity to sink this low so quickly. Are we marching toward our own extinction? In the most shocking news yet, a man killed his companion and ate him. Even more disturbing, when the police chased him, he stopped a moving bus with his bare hands. Is this horrifying event a tragedy, or the beginning of human evolution? The student looked up from the page, his expression grim. Everything happening here, it's exactly like what's starting to happen in our world. After evolving, we start developing dangerous cravings, and not everyone can control them. Is our world also headed for destruction, and will the destroyers be us? The man in the hat muttered. What if we were sent here to see our future? I don't even feel like fighting or surviving anymore. What's the point? If Earth is going to end up like this, why bother trying so hard? In the end, we'll all be destroyed. Bai Chi chimed in bitterly. My life's been full of regrets. I never even confessed to my crush. I've never had a boyfriend. If I die without even that, how will I face God in heaven? Fan Xiao crossed his arms. Okay, enough drama. Our world's not going to fall apart overnight. It probably took years for this world to collapse too. He turned serious. And why are you all seeing only the negative? Compared to this world's people, we're far more knowledgeable. We know what our future might look like. We weren't sent here just to see it. This is a warning. If we don't act to save our world now, this is what we'll become. Jining began questioning what the point of this warning even was. Even if this is some kind of warning, what are we really supposed to change? Fan Xiao responded, reminding everyone that system had already warned them about the dangers evolving, and after arriving here, they had glimpsed a possible future. Think about it. Why would system reveal our future to us? The truth is, it's preparing us to prevent our world from turning into that hellscape. He explained that this was exactly why each of them had been chosen, because they all possessed the potential to stop that future from happening. The guy in the hat chimed in, asking, so does that mean we're the saviors of the future? Do we really have that kind of potential to become tomorrow's heroes? The college student admitted that he'd always dreamed of being a hero, and now, they finally had a real chance to be the heroes of their generation. If we manage to save humanity, the world will remember us as the ones who saved it, and the only thing we need to do to make that happen is evolve. If we evolve, we can inspire others to do the same. Jining silently observed him, thinking to herself that this guy wasn't just smart, he was a master manipulator. After learning what kind of future awaited their world, everyone had felt crushed. Their motivation was gone. No one had the courage to go out and face the threats beyond the station. It felt like the end. So what's the point of trying? But using just his words, he had managed to manipulate the group. Jining knew clearly that whatever they were going to do here, they would ultimately be doing it for themselves. Yes, saving humanity would have benefits, but the ones who stood to gain the most were them, and he had twisted the message in such a way that everyone started believing they would be remembered as superheroes in the future. The guy in the hat said that this didn't sound like bad news at all, it was good news. Now they understood their reality, now they knew what challenges lay ahead. That's good for us, and good for humanity. Fan Xiao corrected him, saying, no, what you heard before was the bad news. What I'm about to tell you is the good news. I know how we can get out of here. I've figured out which station is real. There's no need for any more wandering or investigating. This revelation stunned the group. That's amazing. You already know how to escape. Fan Xiao smiled and said, before I tell you exactly how, let's make it a challenge. Why don't you try guessing the location of the station? After all, today we're together, but in the future, we'll each be on our own. We should take every opportunity to learn from what's happening here. The college student apologized, admitting that he was terrible at solving riddles. I don't think I'll be able to piece together even a single clue. The guy in the hat added that navigating danger was always a difficult task, and usually the exit routes were hidden. You told us yourself that the humans here are the monsters, so logically, the exit might be somewhere like a school, a mall, or some other high population area. Where more people once lived, there would be more monsters now, and where there are more monsters, the danger is higher. I think we should explore one of those places. The guy in the hoodie offered a different theory. Monsters tend to prefer darkness, so they might be hiding in places like huge building basements, parking lots, or even the city's underground sewer lines. Bai Ji suggested it might be the city zoo. Fan Xiao replied enthusiastically, saying, Bai Ji, you're getting really close. Jining joined in. If I'm being honest, I see two possibilities. Either the exit is at the zoo, or it's at the aquarium. The most dangerous place isn't the one with the most monsters, it's the place where the boss of the dungeon resides. When we first received our mission, it clearly stated, we can't leave without defeating the dungeon boss. So wherever the boss is, that's where the exit must be. They were placed together so that no player could avoid the confrontation. The college student admitted the logic made sense, but he still didn't understand why the place had to be a zoo or an aquarium. Couldn't it be somewhere else entirely? The guy in the hat answered him, the answer is simple, our way of thinking has been wrong from the beginning. We've been assuming the most dangerous places are where the monsters are, but we should have been asking, how did the humans become monsters? Most of the evolved beings didn't eat humans, they fed on animals, but after consuming too many animals, their minds and bodies became corrupted, and while evolved creatures didn't usually eat each other, they still preferred prey that was originally human. He theorized that there must have come a time in this world when no humans were left to eat. Desperate, the monsters would have gone to the city's zoo and aquarium, places filled with animals. Whoever reached those places first would have consumed an enormous amount of animal and evolved into something extremely dangerous. So, it's very likely the dungeon boss is in one of those two places. Fan Xiao confirmed her theory. Jining, you're absolutely right, the boss is in the aquarium. I found another article in the library that confirms its location. It clearly states that a powerful monster resides inside the aquarium, one that kills every person who enters. The city was already in an emergency state, but after this monster appeared, they had no choice but to seal it off entirely. That alone should tell you how dangerous it is. If it wasn't a boss-level monster, the city wouldn't have been sealed. The college student spoke up again. If we already know the location, why are we wasting time here? We need to act. Every second counts. Fan Xiao explained that while he couldn't say for certain, the clues they had gathered suggested that the boss might be inside the aquarium. However, he clarified that this wasn't confirmed yet. He proposed that their first step should be to investigate the city's aquarium. If they found no trace of the dungeon boss there, their next stop would be the zoo. And if the zoo also turned up empty, they would have no choice but to search the surrounding buildings, wandering aimlessly if needed. The man in the cap then voiced his concern. He admitted that he had a bad feeling about what was coming. A dangerous fight seemed imminent, and he sincerely hoped the dungeon boss wasn't too strong, because if he was, it could be disastrous for all of them. Meanwhile, the guy in the hoodie was thinking to himself, no matter how powerful the dungeon boss was, he believed that it would still be nothing compared to Fan Zhao. Fan Zhao's power was terrifying. The guy mused that if Fan Zhao was truly a human devourer, he could have already killed everyone standing there, and none of them would have been able to even touch him in return. Sensing the tension, Fan Zhao smirked and asked why he looked so nervous. He wondered aloud if it was because they were about to face the dungeon boss. The hoodie guy responded, addressing him respectfully as Brother Fan. He pointed out that not everyone was like Fan Zhao. He didn't have the strength to fight a boss head-on. Being nervous was perfectly natural. Internally, the hoodie guy admitted that it wasn't the boss that made him nervous, it was Fan Zhao himself. After witnessing his power, he was filled with fear. He worried that if Fan Zhao ever lost control, not even a single monster would survive, let alone any of them. Fan Zhao reassured them, saying there was no need to worry about a big fight. He revealed that he had come up with a clever solution that might allow them to escape without battling at all. From what he had observed, these monsters had all the typical traits of humans, including laziness. He explained that if the monsters had a choice between easy food and effort, they would always pick the easier route. Jining then spoke up, realizing something. She asked if that was the reason Fan Zhao had brought along the corpses of other monsters. Fan Zhao confirmed her guess. He explained that their plan was to throw the corpses in front of the monsters. If the creatures showed interest in eating them, the group could sneak away without engaging in combat. The man in the hat agreed with the plan and said they should move quickly. It was still a while before nightfall, and if they left soon, there was a good chance they could escape the city before it got dark. But Fan Zhao shook his head. He said there was no need to rush, everyone should rest and recover first. They had explored the city extensively during their investigation, and they needed to be fully prepared. He suggested that they head to the aquarium the next day, fully rested. The man in the hat was surprised. He reminded Fan Zhao that he had been the one warning against wasting time. It was only 1 p.m., and the monsters weren't expected to awaken until 6:30. They still had 5 full hours, plenty of time to finish their task and leave. Fan Zhao replied that while he couldn't speak for the others, he was personally exhausted. If they wanted to go without him, they were free to do so, but in his current condition, he wasn't going anywhere. He intended to rest and recover, and only then would he move. In his thoughts, Fan Zhao reflected on the situation. He had already used the angel skill not long ago, and it wouldn't be available again for another 24 hours. Fighting the dungeon boss without it would be incredibly foolish. Waiting just 1 day wouldn't cost them anything. Still, he worried, if someone among them tried to betray the group and escape alone, they could all be put at risk. He had a strong suspicion about who might be capable of such betrayal. That was why he refused to take unnecessary risks just because someone pressured him. Jining said that she too was exhausted, and heading to the aquarium the next day seemed like the best option. Bai Ji added that she supported her sister's decision. Whatever sister and brother Fan decided, she would follow without question. The hoodie guy chimed in, saying he had no objections either. Whether they left today or 10 days later didn't matter to him. The important thing was having Brother Fan with them. They all knew they were helpless without him. The man in the hat finally relented. If everyone else agreed, then he might as well rest and head out tomorrow. The scene then shifted to 8 a.m. the next morning. The man in the hat asked Fan Zhao if he had gotten enough rest, and whether they should now head to the aquarium. But Fan Zhao shook his head again. Not yet. They needed to wait a little longer. The man in the hat was visibly frustrated. He asked how much longer they were supposed to wait. Their system's countdown had already begun. Wasting time now could be a serious mistake. He reminded Fan Zhao that he had been the one insisting they avoid wasting time, and now he was the one stalling the most. He pointed out that they had collected food while searching the city, but it would likely run out by the end of the day. Then he confronted Fan Zhao directly, asking if his plan was to make them all starve while he continued to delay. Fan Zhao responded, he wasn't holding anyone back. If they were in such a hurry, they were free to leave right now. He didn't need anyone to wait for him. He could manage on his own. He reminded them that he had already helped them a great deal, and he wouldn't tolerate being lectured or guilt-tripped for making his own decisions. They needed him more than he needed them, and he wouldn't pretend otherwise. Inwardly, Fan Zhao was troubled. He noticed that since yesterday, that man's behavior had changed. As long as Fan Zhao's choices had benefited him, he had been cooperative. But now that Fan Zhao was asking them to wait just a little, the man was the first to protest. Fan Zhao was convinced this man would become a problem later, and in a world like this, he didn't trust anyone, not until he had regained the power to use angel skill again. Until then, He wouldn't step outside the safe zone. The guy in the hat snapped. He asked if they really needed him, and said it felt like everyone was under some huge misunderstanding. He turned to the group and added, "Look, my friends, I don't think any of us actually need Fan Xiao. Anyone who wants to come with me, let's go. We don't have to stick around here." The guy in the hoodie spoke up calmly, trying to diffuse the tension. He said he couldn't understand why the hat guy was getting so worked up over nothing. If Brother Fan Xiao wasn't with us, we never would have even found the right location. Right now, we'd just be wandering around like idiots, so I've got no problem waiting here, because I'm pretty sure he has a good reason for asking us to. I can guarantee he's not wasting our time. There's definitely something important going on here, not like you, sitting here complaining and rushing everyone. The college student backed him up, agreeing that the hat guy was just getting angry over nothing. We already know there are only 2 possible locations where the dungeon boss could be. We're not just going to blindly charge in. We have to investigate both spots. As soon as we find the boss, it's over. But even with that plan in place, you're still yelling at Brother Fan Xiao for no reason. The guy in the hat looked around at everyone, disbelief on his face. He growled that they had all lost their minds. What the hell happened to your heads? Why are you all suddenly following everything this guy says? As he vented, Jining quietly watched Fan Xiao. Her thoughts ran deep. At least now, I've figured out one thing about this man. He has an extremely dangerous ability, something powerful enough to kill anyone, anytime. But the catch is, he can only use it once every 24 hours. No matter how many excuses he gives for staying back, the real reason he hasn't moved from this place is because of that ability. That's what he's hiding. Still, I can't be 100% sure. It's possible he's doing all of this just to make us think he has weaknesses, trying to lower our guard. Maybe he's still observing us, trying to figure out who among us is the traitor. Until this guy decides to reveal something about himself, learning anything about him will be nearly impossible, because out of everyone I've ever met in my life, this man is by far the smartest. This is the first time I've ever come across someone who's actually more intelligent than me. As Fan Xiao stood up, he calmly told the others that they clearly lacked patience. He warned them that in an apocalyptic world, acting rashly like this would only get them killed. He then stated that he was now ready to move. There was no need for anyone to stir up unnecessary drama. He insisted that he wasn't deliberately holding anyone back. He had a significant reason for staying behind, a purpose he didn't feel obligated to explain. Our first priority is collecting all the monster bodies, and heading to the aquarium to investigate the location of the dungeon boss. The scene shifted to the group standing outside the ruined aquarium. Bai Ji, looking at the devastation, said she couldn't believe how such a place could be destroyed so completely. She remembered seeing photos of it in newspapers, once a beautiful and grand structure. Now, it was just a crumbling ruin. Jining remarked that they were lucky to have encountered a doll on the way that helped carry the bodies. Otherwise, they would have exhausted themselves just transporting them, and someone might have collapsed from sheer fatigue. The man in the hat pointed out that it was already 2 p.m. by the time they arrived. He reminded them that he had been saying all morning that they should have left earlier, but no one listened. They had wasted precious time, and now he feared that darkness would fall before they could finish investigating. If they got stuck here overnight, they'd all be dead for sure. College student, visibly anxious, commented that the aquarium looked massive from the outside, meaning it would be even larger inside. With no lights, the interior would be pitch dark and likely very dangerous. He admitted he had never imagined a place like this could be so vast, and its size alone would make their mission far more difficult. The man in the hat told him to calm down, saying there was no point in panicking now. He warned them that the boss monster would appear soon, and when it did, the fight would be intense and deadly. Fan Xiao then spoke again, acknowledging that staying behind may have cost them some time, but pointed out that the others had wasted just as much time standing around and chatting. He said the only way to find out what was really going on was to head inside. With that, the group entered the aquarium. Inside, Fan Xiao noted how it seemed no one had been there for a long time. The place had likely been sealed off for ages. As they moved deeper in, they noticed the walls were lined with photos. College student guessed that the pictures were from when humans still inhabited the city. The aquarium must have once been famous, hence the abundance of visitor photos. Jining added that in a city where people still lived, an aquarium wouldn't normally be this large. So this must have been a tourist hotspot, drawing visitors from far and wide. That would explain the photo-covered walls. Fan Xiao, meanwhile, was staring intently at one section of the wall. Jining asked what he was looking at, if he had found a clue in one of the pictures. Fan Xiao replied that the photos looked familiar, like he had seen them somewhere before. Bai Ji said the place must have been remarkable before it was destroyed. She wondered if any of the people in the photos had imagined that in such a short time, it would all turn to rubble. Suddenly, college student called out excitedly. He had found a map of the aquarium. As he examined it, he spotted the marked location of the station. He confirmed Fan Xiao's earlier theory, saying that the boss really was in the exact spot Fan Xiao had predicted. As they moved ahead, someone pointed out they needed to hurry. After registering, they'd have one shot to escape this place. They approached the main pool, and a portal appeared. College student pointed out that the gate had manifested right near the station, suggesting that it was their exit point. Fan Xiao noted that he, too, could see the gate, but warned everyone not to celebrate too soon. A major challenge still stood in their way. The guy in the hat said he could hear something moving underwater, something far bigger than a regular monster. He guessed it was 3 or 4 times the normal size. He believed this was the dungeon boss. They all saw that the portal was positioned in the middle of the pool. Reaching it with a direct jump was impossible. It was about 20 meters away, too far to leap. Their only option was to swim. But swimming brought its own dangers. If they attempted to cross the pool, the boss would surely attack. Fortunately, Fan Xiao had brought the monster corpses for a reason. His plan was to use them as a distraction while the group made their escape. The others agreed that the plan could work. They would toss in the bodies and then swim for the gate as fast as possible. As long as they didn't hesitate, they might just make it out alive. Bai Ji, however, confessed that she didn't know how to swim. The guy in the hat was stunned. He asked how she expected to get across if she couldn't swim. Jining stepped in, saying Bai Ji was her sister, so the responsibility was hers. She would carry her sister across herself. Fan Xiao then suggested an alternative. He reminded Jining that she could swim, and that she also had a puppet. He proposed that she have the puppet carry Bai Ji. If she could make the puppet fly, they could send her sister directly across the pool. Jining said, sure, theoretically, it was possible, but the real problem was that she couldn't fly while carrying her puppet. Her powers were bound by the laws of physics. If I lift Bai Ji into the air with my puppet and try to fly, it means I'm carrying the weight of 2 people, and that's just not going to work. It would be far too inefficient. She went on, saying that if she swam instead, while keeping Bai Ji afloat, she could move pretty fast, but trying to swim and control her puppet at the same time? That would be nearly impossible. In fact, doing that would just slow me down unnecessarily. It'd be a waste. The best thing would be for me to just swim while carrying Bai Ji. The guy in the hat snapped back at her. He said she was crazy if she thought that plan would work. Have you forgotten? We're not dealing with some regular monster here. This is the boss. If we're even slightly delayed because of one person, we'll all be dead. We're not going to risk everyone's lives for one girl. He turned to the group, pointing toward Bai Ji. Your sister doesn't even know how to swim. That's her fault, and we're not all going to suffer because of her. Just tell her clearly, she doesn't need to get in the water. If she splashes around and slows us down, we're finished. If she can't swim, then she has no business being here. Jining's voice rose, full of anger. And who the hell are you to decide who lives or dies? Why should I abandon my sister for your convenience? I'm telling you now, I'm not leaving her behind. And if you try to make trouble here, I'll make sure you don't get out either. The guy in the hat scoffed and said, you're acting smart, but be honest, if it were anyone else instead of your sister, you'd be saying the exact same thing I am. Someone who can't swim has no chance of crossing this water alive. I'm only saying this for your own good. If you take her with you, I guarantee you won't make it. You'll both drown, and worse, your deaths might get the rest of us killed too. Look, we already have a solid plan. We can use the corpses floating in the water to cross safely. Just don't ruin it for everyone, and let's be honest, you haven't exactly been all that helpful up to this point. At that moment, Fan Xiao stepped forward and interrupted him. Hold on, you're claiming the sisters haven't contributed? Then tell me, what exactly have you done that's so irreplaceable? What part of this plan hinges on you alone? This entire plan, we're following it because I made it, and that means I decide who stays and who goes. I'm saying we take both sisters with us. Leaving them here won't help anyone. I'm not claiming to be some kind of hero who always does the right thing. But if we don't take them with us, they're going to panic, and that panic might alert the boss monster. Worse, if you try to kill them before we go, you should remember, they're not weak enough to die quietly. If a fight breaks out, we'll draw attention again, and then everyone dies. The guy in the hat fell silent, and finally muttered that Fan Xiao had a point. Bai Ji looked up and spoke softly to her sister. You don't have to stay behind for me. Go on without me. But Jining turned to the group and declared with a steel in her voice, listen carefully, all of you. If you think you're going to leave here without me and my sister, then you're very wrong. If the two of us can't make it out, then none of you will. The college student stepped in to calm the situation. There's no need for this fight. We've made it this far as a team, and we can get to the end as one. But if we keep arguing, the monsters will be on us before we move an inch. At that moment, Fan Xiao moved forward. Jining called out, Fan Xiao, where are you going? But before she could stop him, Fan Xiao had already picked up Bai Ji. He looked at the group and said firmly, I've never left one of my own behind, and I'm not about to start now, especially not just because someone's weak. I'm a strong swimmer. I can carry her across just fine. Jining, use your puppet to support me a little, just enough to help balance the load. If we work together, it'll be much easier. I promise we'll make it across the pool just like everyone else. Alright, everyone, get ready. We're entering the pool. Bai Ji, deeply moved, thought to herself, brother Fan, thank you." Meanwhile, the guy in the hoodie grabbed a dead monster and tossed it into the water, using it as bait. The others stood by, waiting for the monster to appear. After 5 tense minutes, the massive octopus boss emerged and began devouring the corpse. The college student whispered, "That's the dungeon boss. Look how massive it is." As they all entered the pool, Fan Shao shouted, "Move, quickly. Everyone, keep swimming forward." The group began swimming, trying to move as fast and quietly as possible. But Fan Shao looked around and noticed something. "Where's the guy in the hat? Why didn't he jump in with us?" Scene shift to the hat guy, standing alone at the edge of the pool. He smirked and muttered, "Idiots, every last one of you fell for it." With that, he tossed a massive stone into the water, causing huge ripples. The octopus monster was instantly alerted. The creature's movements churned the water violently, pushing the swimming group toward the far edge of the pool. Fan Shao realized what had happened. "That bastard betrayed us." Shocked by Ji cried out, "What just happened? Who did this?" The hat guy called out smugly, "Everything I did because of you people, so don't blame me." He turned to Fan Shao, "You were right from the beginning, Fan. If even one person in the group wants to sabotage things, they can ruin it for everyone. No one else was willing to take initiative, so I did. And now, thanks to me, your chances of getting out are next to impossible. And you know what? Watching you all die here, it actually makes me really happy." The guy in the hoodie spat back, "You selfish bastard. To save your own skin, you sacrificed all of us." He glanced at the monster moving in their direction. "Now that we're all in the water, the octopus boss is going to attack, and because we're alive, we'll fight back, and that'll be enough of a distraction for him to escape." That was his plan all along. The college student shouted that this was exactly why he had insisted they all stay in one place. He explained that the hat guy had originally planned to sacrifice Bai Ji, but when that didn't work out, he had decided to sacrifice all of them instead. Suddenly, the octopus monster lashed out, grabbing everyone with its tentacles. As Fan Shao cut through one of the tentacles, he called out that they had no other choice now. They would have to fight. The octopus monster, enraged by the severed tentacle, thrashed even more violently. Meanwhile, the guy with the hat saw his chance to escape. He thought to himself that while the monster was busy attacking the others, he could slip away unnoticed. He was convinced this was the only way to survive and began swimming away, believing he was finally 100% safe. But Jining noticed him fleeing. She immediately sent her puppet after him, shouting that all of them had a chance to escape, but he had chosen to betray them just to save his own skin. "If none of us are escaping, then I'm not letting you get out either." The guy in the hat scoffed. He said it was pointless for her to yell and that even if her puppet reached him, it wouldn't be able to do anything. "What can that little toy of yours even do to me?" Fan Shao interrupted, urging everyone to ignore the traitor for now. "Let him go, we can deal with him later. Right now, we fight the monster. If we survive, we can still set everything right. But if we die, we'll have no chance left for anything." Jining, still furious, argued that it was because of that scumbag that they were in this mess. "Are we really going to let him walk away while we struggle between life and death? We don't even know if we'll make it, and he's just sitting back, enjoying the show." Just then, her puppet lunged forward and stabbed the octopus monster in the eye. Enraging it further, the beast began tearing the puppet apart with its teeth. The guy in the hoodie called out to Fan Shao, "Brother Fan, we have to do something. The college student can't take much more. He told me he only got turned into an evolved being recently. He's going to die if we don't act soon." Fan Shao told him to wait just a second. He had a plan, but it would take a little more time. Meanwhile, Bai Ji blamed herself. "If I knew how to swim, none of this would have happened. That guy in the hat wouldn't have betrayed us." Fan Shao cut her off. "Stop blaming yourself. That bastard betrayed us because he wanted to, not because of you. Nothing that's happening here is your fault. Just focus on using your healing ability. If I recover quickly, I'll save everyone." Jining thought to herself that the monster's grip was getting tighter, and even she was finding it hard to hold on. Why the hell isn't Fan doing anything? I know he has some kind of incredible ability. He could finish this monster in a second if he used it. So why isn't he? What exactly is he waiting for? Elsewhere, the guy in the hat was still swimming. He thought to himself that he had known from the start, this so-called evolution game wasn't meant to be played as a team. It was an individual game all along. The game was teaching us how to use others, and I've learned that lesson well. He believed there was no way to survive without sacrificing the others, so he did exactly that and was now finally close to the gate. Once he passed through, he would be safe, while the others would die because they'd placed their trust in the wrong person. But just as he reached the gate, he stopped swimming. Panic struck. He couldn't move his arms or legs. No matter how hard he tried, his body wouldn't respond. He thought, "The gate is right in front of me. I know I should swim, but why isn't my body listening?" A strange melody filled the water, paralyzing him even further. He screamed internally for the song to stop. At that moment, a mermaid-like monster appeared near him. He realized, so this was the real boss. That's why Fan Shao let me get this far. The mermaid song overwhelmed him. He lost consciousness, and the creature devoured him then and there. Back at the main battle, the octopus monster had completely destroyed Jining's puppet. She screamed in frustration at Fan Xiao. "What are you waiting for? I know you have an incredible ability. If you just used it, we could all be saved. What are you doing? Is it not recharged yet?" Fan Xiao responded calmly, asking her to stay quiet for just a bit longer. "There's something I need to confirm. If I'm right, then using my ability now would be a huge mistake." His eyes remained locked on the water where the guy in the hat had disappeared. "He's been under for a long time now. He should have surfaced by now. I think I was right. The real boss monster isn't the octopus, it's something else." He stood up. "I'm sure now. Angel of Slaughter, come out and attack." The Angel of Slaughter emerged. Fan Xiao ordered her to destroy every creature in front of her. As she advanced, she grinned. "Finally, a worthy opponent. I'll enjoy killing this monster." The boss monster countered with a full-force attack, trying to keep the angel at bay, but she sliced right through the defense. "You're too weak. With strength like that, you can't even slow me down." With one strike, she sliced the boss monster clean in half. Seeing this, the octopus monster was stunned, but before it could react, Fan Xiao swiftly cut through its tentacles, freeing everyone from its grasp. He said that the only reason he had stayed back was because of the boss monster. "If it weren't for that, I alone would have been enough to finish you." As he spoke, he stabbed the octopus creature. In a last-ditch effort, the octopus monster used its tentacle to strike at Fan Xiao, but Angel jumped in just in time, shielding him and saving his life. With that final blow, all the monsters in the aquarium were wiped out. As they emerged from the water, the guy in the hoodie spoke in disbelief. He said he couldn't believe they'd actually survived. Bai Ji added that it was all thanks to Fan Xiao. "If he hadn't been here, we'd all be dead." Just then, the system notification appeared. "Player Seal, congratulations. You've defeated the dungeon's boss monster solo. A rare reward will now be granted for completing this dangerous challenge." Fan Xiao thought to himself that it was finally over, but the effort it took to clear this dungeon had been overwhelming. Jining turned to him, puzzled, and said that they had all thought the octopus was the real boss. "But somehow, you were the only one who knew there was another boss here. I don't get it. How did you figure that out?" She added that others had charged ahead blindly, gotten themselves killed, and yet Fan Xiao had seen something none of them had. Fan Xiao replied calmly that, just like with everything else, he had simply guessed. "Do you remember when I was staring at that photo in the gallery? You even asked me why I was so fixated on it. I told you that I'd seen it somewhere before." He explained that the photo had tipped him off that something was wrong. The real boss monster wasn't the octopus, it was someone else entirely. The couple in the photo had been reported missing in an article. He said that on the same day their disappearance made the news, there had been another disturbing report. Someone had been eaten inside the aquarium. After that, the deaths increased rapidly, and the facility was sealed off. According to the article, there were two highly dangerous monsters inside, one that looked like an octopus but was missing an arm, and another that resembled a mermaid. When we entered, we saw the octopus monster, but the human-like creature didn't appear. Even in the photo, there were two people and an octopus. My guess? One of them got eaten by the octopus and turned into it. The other must have consumed a human, and became the mermaid monster. He added that every evolved being they'd seen who ate animals only gained basic animal traits, with no real power boost, but those who consumed humans, their power surged dramatically. If they could control their minds, they'd be incredibly powerful. That's why I suspected the real dungeon boss had eaten humans, not animals, and I was right. He explained that ever since the octopus monster appeared, he had been waiting for the mermaid to show herself. When she did, he used his ability, not only to fight, but also to observe who among them could be trusted. Jining, now understanding his logic, said that meant he had known from the start there were two monsters, and also that someone among them might betray the group, especially the guy in the hat. That's why you waited, to see when he would turn on us, and once he did, you stepped in and saved everyone. But if you had taken action earlier, maybe no one would have died, Fan Xiao said. And that's exactly why I find humans so disappointing. You're talking like his death was my fault, as if I let it happen. I'm not here to take the blame for anyone. He pointed out that even after saving everyone, he was still being criticized. Put yourself in my shoes. If you were me, would you have saved everyone? That guy was planning to sacrifice us all just to escape, and now that he's dead, you're blaming me for not saving him? He made it clear that saving someone like that wasn't worth it. People like him are a threat to humanity. He betrayed us. That's why he died. It's that simple. Jining immediately apologized. That's not what I meant. I just meant you already knew everything but still didn't tell us. But now I understand why you stayed silent. She admitted that if he hadn't saved her sister, she probably would have done the same thing as the guy in the hat. I don't have the right to blame him or you. She added there was another reason she stuck by her sister. I know nothing bad will happen to me as long as I'm with her. Fan Xiao raised an eyebrow. You sound pretty sure about that. Jining nodded. You could say, my sister is just ridiculously lucky. It's not the first time her life's been in danger, and yet, somehow, every time, someone shows up to save her. She's always rescued. no matter how desperate the situation. Fan Xiao smiled slightly. So, you're saying she has some kind of luck-based ability? Honestly, if I had that kind of ability, it'd be pretty amazing. Jining said they had a lot more to discuss, but this wasn't the place for it. With a quick glance at the others, she added that they shouldn't talk about these things in front of everyone. If they got the chance, they would meet outside and continue the conversation in private. Fan Xiao nodded. All right then, I'll wait for you all. As he turned, his thoughts grew distant. So it turns out, luck ability isn't that special after all. I used to think I was the only one who had this kind of skill, but there are many people in this game who can use similar abilities. Still, ever since I entered this world, something incredible has been happening. He realized his luck stat had been increasing at an insane rate. Normally, luck improves at a snail's pace, but ever since I got here, it's been rising 10 times faster. The amount of luck I've gathered in just 2 days, it surpasses what I could have collected in 20. This world is dangerous, full of monsters and uncertainty. You could die at any moment, and worst of all, we don't even know if we'll make it out after completing the mission. So technically, this is the unluckiest place anyone could be. And the more unlucky I am, the more luck I end up gathering. As he prepared to leave, he said flatly, I'm getting bored of sitting around here. I've had enough of wasting time. I'm heading out. Anyone who wants to come with me is welcome. Jining called out. Wait, just a second. Fan Xiao stopped and turned back. Now what? Jining lowered her head slightly. Fan Jiankang, thank you, really. If you hadn't been here, none of us would have survived. College student added. Yeah, brother Fan, thank you so much. I would have been long dead if not for you. The guy in the hoodie chimed in. Brother, I'll never forget you. If I ever meet you in real life, I'll make sure to repay this debt. Fan Xiao smiled lightly and replied. You guys don't have to be so formal. Also, I lied to you. My name isn't Fan Jiankang. My real name is Fan Xiao. You've seen how many players have already betrayed us. In a world like this, exposing your real identity is pure stupidity. That's why I never revealed it. So I hope you won't hold it against me. Jining gave a knowing smirk. I already guessed that. Jiankang is such an odd name. No one names their kids that these days. Honestly, with how suspicious you are of everyone else, I still can't be totally sure that Fan Xiao is even your real name. As they were heading out, Bai Ji commented that she had heard his name somewhere before. Fan Xiao replied that she must have read about him in the newspapers, as he had fought criminals many times and even received a bravery award. Bai Ji, impressed, asked if he only fought criminals. She remarked that this meant he wasn't just a hero in the game but also in real life. Fan Xiao humbly said that she could see it that way if she wished, but he considered himself far from a hero. In his view, he was simply unlucky. Danger seemed to follow him everywhere. Meanwhile, Jining was thinking to herself that Fan Xiao was anything but ordinary. She recalled that in this level, none of them, whether it was finding clues or making predictions, had contributed as much as he had. He hadn't just investigated the game's mysteries, but also the people they were with. She realized she hadn't even considered the possibility that someone in their group might be a man-eat, a threat that could have killed them all. Yet Fan Xiao had been the first to identify weaknesses in the team and warn them that if even one member consumed human flesh, the rest of them would simply be prey. She also remembered that while the rest of them searched for the station, Fan Xiao had gone to the library to research this world and read old newspaper clippings. His abilities, when finally revealed, had been far more dangerous than anyone expected. He had enough power to kill them all single-handedly, yet he maintained complete control over himself and his strength. From the very start, he had calculated every step perfectly. Jining thought it was fortunate he had been on their side, because if someone that powerful had been their enemy, the consequences would have been disastrous. Bai Ji then asked Fan Xiao for a favor, wondering if he would mind. He told her to go ahead, and she asked for his contact numbers so they could talk even after returning to the real world. She added that it was actually her sister Jining who had suggested she ask. Fan Xiao agreed without hesitation. Jining, irritated, protested that she had never told Bai Ji to do that and pulled her away, scolding her for dragging her into this matter unnecessarily. Bai Ji called back, telling Fan Xiao not to forget her, introducing herself properly, and saying she would definitely call him later. The college students remarked that Fan Xiao seemed incredibly lucky. Not only had he conquered the game, but he had also managed to win the hearts of women, something few could achieve. He even joked that Bai Ji was quite cute and would look good with him. The man in hoodie chuckled, saying that unlike them, Fan Xiao probably had no shortage of admirers in real life. After all, someone that cool, who caught real-life criminals, had to be famous and surrounded by plenty of women more beautiful than Bai Ji. Finally, as they were leaving, Fan Xiao said his goodbyes, expressing hope that they would meet again in the future. As soon as he stepped outside, the system congratulated him for completing the dungeon and officially registering him as a player. The system explained that official players were divided into 3 categories: white name players, fully human, who had never eaten animals or humans. These were considered perfectly evolved players who had cleared all stages of human evolution. gray name players, half human, who could eat anything except human flesh and had done so in life. They had strayed from the evolutionary path but had not fallen entirely, so their evolution was still accepted. Black name players, the greatest threat to humanity's future, as they consumed humans. These had completely failed in the process of evolution, and would go to any lengths to survive. The system informed him that he had never eaten any animal before, which qualified him as a white name player. He had done exceptionally well in the human evolution stage, becoming one of the earliest evolved humans. It then told him that in 10 seconds, he would be returned to the real world. Moments later, Fan Xiao found himself back in the same spot where he had originally been teleported from. Fan Xiao thought to himself that this game was surprisingly considerate. It had returned him exactly to the place from where it had first picked him up. By his count, he had spent 2 full days inside the game, but in real time, only 4 hours had passed. That confirmed one thing for certain. The game's space and Earth's space operated on entirely different timelines. Time here worked in a very unusual way. The most astonishing part was that his hunger had completely vanished. Before, he constantly felt the urge to eat, especially craving fresh meat, but now that desire was gone. Even if he saw an animal, he would no longer feel the impulse to devour it. The system's voice cut through his thoughts, informing him that during this level he had eliminated 3 players. 2 of them were black name players, and 1 was a gray name. His contribution had been pivotal in locating Station, and he had also slain the boss monster single-handedly. As a result, he was being granted an S-rank evolution. His rewards included a personal time ticket, 1 bottle of E-grade healing potion, 1 E-grade weapon, 3 additional healing potions, 5 game points. Fan Xiao couldn't help but think that the game was incredible. Just completing a single level had earned him so many rewards, but before he could process it fully, another notification appeared. It announced that because he had defeated the final boss, he was receiving a grade D item, the anemic earrings. Fan Xiao marveled. He was already being rewarded for completing the level, yet here was a bonus prize for killing the boss. He decided to wear the earrings immediately to see what benefits they might provide. The system explained the lore. Since ancient times, a famous tale spoke of a powerful vampire who had fallen deeply for a young woman. The vampire had gifted her these earrings, and upon wearing them, she gained extraordinary powers. With these earrings, the wearer could use their own blood to forge weapons. The more blood used, the stronger the weapon became. If the wearer killed an opponent with a blood weapon and that enemy's blood touched the weapon, they would gain, for 1 hour, the ability to control that enemy's blood, an ability extremely useful in combat. Fan Xiao could feel it immediately. It was as if his blood were boiling, urging him to shape it into a weapon. He realized he had gained another powerful skill, something he decided to call blood control. It could be invaluable for surprise attacks. He could approach an opponent unarmed and then form a deadly weapon in an instant. The system informed him that the blood attack had a range of 50 meters. Thinking of the other rewards, Fan Xiao began drinking the healing potions. He reasoned that since he could only use them once, it was best to see what benefits they would grant. The effect was immediate. His strength tripled, and his physical abilities became far stronger than before. Now, he could fight most monsters head-on without relying on tricks. When he checked his status, his stats had changed dramatically. His evolution level had risen from 9% to 20%. He had gained 5,000 game coins, and he had advanced to E rank. The system confirmed his rank increase and asked if he wished to create a new talent using this rare opportunity. Fan Xiao reflected that drinking those 3 potions alone had boosted his evolution by 11%. More importantly, leveling up allowed him to upgrade his talents. His Angel of Slaughter skill was already formidable. He could only imagine how powerful it would become after an upgrade. While lost in thought about his new powers, his phone rang. The screen showed an unknown number. Since he had just logged out of the game, he guessed it might be by G. She had been asking for his number earlier. When he answered, a voice greeted him. Fan Xiao, it's me, Lu Jining. We reached home safely, and I wanted to thank you. Fan Xiao told her there was no need to keep thanking him. She and her group had already expressed their gratitude before leaving the game. He asked if she had called just to say thanks. Jining hesitated, then said she had noticed in the game that he seemed quite interested in her sister's luck. She asked if he still wanted to know about it. He admitted he did. In the game, she had claimed her sister was exceptionally lucky and had spoken with complete confidence. He wanted to know why she was so sure, and how she could trust something as intangible as luck. Fan Xiao thought that in the excitement of receiving his rewards, he had almost forgotten. He wasn't the only one in this world with luck powers. There were others like him, and because he possessed those powers himself, he knew exactly what they were capable of. If in just 2 months of using them he had achieved so much, then someone who saved up their luck for 3 or 4 months and used it all at once could accomplish incredible things. Jining explained that her belief wasn't based on guesswork, it was backed by a lifetime of proof. Before her sister Baichi was born, their family had been very poor, but after her birth, their fortunes changed dramatically. They became wealthy without making any significant effort. Luck alone seemed to carry them upward. Moreover, her sister's life had been threatened countless times, yet she had never suffered so much as a scratch. In several incidents, danger struck large groups of people around her. Many died, but Baichi always survived unharmed. These events left no doubt in Jining's mind. Her sister was unbelievably lucky. Baichi spoke in a softer tone, sounding slightly embarrassed. She told her sister that while she admitted she was indeed very lucky, the way her sister described it made it sound exaggerated. She asked her not to overstate things like that, because it came across as strange. Fan Shao interrupted, addressing Jining instead. He asked if the luck they were talking about had ever been confirmed by the system. Had they ever received a system-granted power, or seen a window pop up stating they possessed a luck ability? Jining seemed puzzled. What do you mean by a system window? What is that supposed to be? Realizing his slip, Fan Shao quickly apologized, saying he had recently been reading a novel and had started repeating its plot by mistake. He told her to forget what he had just said. Privately, he was disappointed. He had thought Baichi was like him, that she too possessed a system-based luck ability, which explained Jining's confidence in her, but now it was clear they were only talking about natural luck, not a system power. To him, that was meaningless. Without a system-given luck stat, no one could match him. Jining changed the topic. She reminded him that she had answered his question, so now it was his turn to answer hers. She admitted she was curious about his abilities. For example, she herself had a talent called Puppet Mastery. She wanted to know what talent he possessed and what rank it was. Based on her observations, she suspected he could manipulate air, possibly even shape it into weapons. Now it clicked for Fan Shao. This was why she had been staring at him since the start of the mission. He had thought it was personal interest, but in reality, she had been studying him, gathering information. He told her bluntly that this disappointed him, and if that was the case, then they had nothing left to discuss. Jining protested, insisting there was still plenty to talk about. She asked if he had received a time trading ticket among his rewards for completing the mission. That ticket was actually an invitation to a new challenge, something all successful mission players seem to receive. She believed that if they both used their tickets at the same time, there was a chance they could enter the same mission together. And since they already knew each other and had worked as a team before, it would be an advantage. Internally, Jining was frustrated. She had intended to make it seem like Fan Shao needed them, but he had effortlessly flipped the situation, making it obvious that they were the ones who needed him. She then revealed that both she and Baichi had received a ticket to Jingi Memory Zoo Station, and asked where his ticket led. Fan Shao replied that he had several: Roa Street, Jingi Memory Corridor, Zoo Station, and 3 or 4 other places he hadn't even read about yet. With those, he could choose some excellent destinations. Surprised, Jining pointed out that meant he had received 3 tickets, whereas she and her sister had only gotten 1 each. This suggested his evolution rank must have been much higher than theirs, which would also explain why his rewards were superior. Fan Shao admitted she was correct. His evolution had been quite high. Curious, he asked what evolution ranks the sisters had received. Jining said she had been given AB rank evolution, while Baichi had received C rank. Aside from the tickets, they had also gotten an E grade item. Fan Shao replied that he had also received an item, but his was D grade, not E. It was probably because his evolution had been S rank. He suggested that if possible, they could meet again during a mission and compare rewards there. Jining agreed, noting it was fortunate they at least shared one matching ticket destination, the Jingi Corridor. That meant they could potentially enter together again. Working alongside him would be enjoyable, but they would have to wait a few days before using the tickets. She explained that she wanted to use the time to prepare by crafting powerful puppets for herself. With stronger puppets, she could be far more effective in battle and support the team better. She hoped Fan Shao wasn't in too much of a hurry. Fan Shao replied that he was in no rush to enter the game again. After all, they had just come out of it. He intended to research the evolution game first, how long it had existed and what changes it had brought to their world. He reminded her that she had 1 ticket, while he had 3. If he had extra time, he would complete the other 2 missions first and then join her for the final game. Whenever she was ready, she could call him, as he was always prepared. After the call ended, Fan Shao reflected on his current team. They weren't the most powerful, but both sisters had their strengths. Jining, for example, could create a strong defense using her puppet techniques, especially if she had many powerful puppets. She had already made good progress after leaving the game and was now building new puppets for herself. Baichi, on the other hand, possessed a C-rank healing ability. Fan Shao knew that having a healer in any team was vital. No matter how strong one was, danger in the game could be unpredictable, and the absence of a healer could prove fatal. As for himself, he had perfect defensive abilities. In his opinion, when the 3 of them worked together, nothing would stand in their way. He also valued the fact that the sisters were extremely loyal. During the last mission, they had not betrayed him, even when others had abandoned them. Instead, they had stayed and avoided creating problems for the rest, proving their integrity. Fan Zhao's first mission had been completed quite easily, and he had already received excellent rewards. It was now time to upgrade his angel stat. After the upgrade, the system informed him that his angel could now be used for 60 seconds instead of just 30, and the cooldown time had been reduced from 24 hours to 12. He could also now form weapons using his anger. His anger scythe possessed an incredible ability. When used against any living being, it rendered their defenses completely useless, even against god-level opponents. He realized that with such a weapon, he could kill even the most powerful enemies in a single strike, as they would falsely believe their defenses would protect them, until the scythe sliced right through. The upgraded weapon also looked far more impressive, and the experience felt very different from before. Deciding it was awkward to keep calling it the scythe, he thought it was the perfect time to give it a name. The next day, the scene shifted to Fan Zhao sketching the people he had seen in the evolution game. He admitted to himself that he was quite good at drawing and had created accurate images of all of them. Now, he was simply waiting for the special forces to arrive. When there was a knock on the gate, he thought about how punctual they were, arriving right on time. Opening the gate, he saw Captain Wang standing there. The captain remarked that he was not surprised to see him, although he had expected Fan Zhao to be shocked to see him with the special forces. Fan Zhao replied that based on the captain's reaction last time, it was clear he was very interested in evolved beings. Since Fan Zhao had filed the current report about one, it was only natural for the captain to come. Besides, everyone in the police station already knew they were acquainted. At this point, a special forces woman commented that as far as she knew, evolved beings were nothing but rumors. They didn't actually exist. Another officer agreed, questioning why Fan Zhao believed in them and asking how he could be so sure when he claimed he had been attacked by one. Fan Zhao answered confidently that of course he was sure, because he himself was an evolved being. Hearing this, Captain Wang was left completely stunned. What happens next will be revealed in the next episode. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.